Shares of Fannie and Freddie immediately tumbling following the Mnuchin comments. They are still falling nearly 5%, currently on track for their biggest daily percentage drop since last April 15th. Let me bring in Charlie Gasparino. And Charlie, before I get your take on that, we do have a breaking piece of news here that Senators Elizabeth Warren and Senators Ben Cardin have put out a letter to Mr. Mnuchin. It's not even the Treasury Secretary yet. It's not about Mnuchin. It's about Anthony Scaramucci.
Right.
Of course, Anthony Scaramucci. and they're saying that he has maybe made a mistake by meeting with the CEO of a Russian entity who was sanctioned back in 2015, and you're not supposed to do business with the Russians. What's this about?
Well, let's unpack this a little bit. We should point out that Steve Mnuchin, if he becomes confirmed as Treasury Secretary, will be enforcing the sanctions against Russia.
Right.
As part of those sanctions.
And he said he wanted to keep the sanctions.
And he wanted to keep the sanctions. Anthony Scaramucci will be a White House advisor right after Donald Trump takes the oath, I guess, on tomorrow and is inaugurated. And here's where it gets interesting. If you are part of the administration, can you legally meet with someone that's on that list and discuss potential business opportunities in the U.S.? I don't know. I will say this: there's two issues here. When I did a little bit of reporting here, and apparently there's wiggle room in this law about the people, about entities on that list. It's not black and white that if you just sit there with somebody, if you talk to them, that you're automatically violating the law. That said, this is a very, very difficult situation for Donald Trump. That Anthony did something at a time of very heightened sensitivity to anything to do with Russia and Vladimir Putin. You know,
yes, because they had invaded Ukraine and snatched that piece of
well, not only
the
that,
land there,
the Russian espionage into the U.S. election, and on and on and on. This is difficult stuff. Now, I'm not telling you he's going to lose his job over this. As a matter of fact, I don't think he will. But I think it's not a theoretical impossibility that he might, given the heightened sensitivity. And we just have to see where it all
right.
It all comes out. I mean,
let me just clarify. It supposedly happened in Davos yesterday.
Right.
Just a day or two ago, that he met in person with somebody named Kirill Dmitriev. Oh.
But then he went on TV and spoke about it. And I'm just saying, in this environment, you probably shouldn't be doing that. And I'm not saying he's going to lose his job. I don't think he will. I think other people have done stuff like this. He's not the first. He obviously made a mistake, which he knows he made a mistake.
Well, what's interesting is back to Mnuchin. He now is being asked to, one of the good friends of the administration, he's been asked to look into another good friend of the administration.
Right, but he's supposed to. He's supposed to. We should point out.
All right, let's get to Mnuchin and Fannie and Freddie.
Well, this is a fascinating story. Okay, we should point out, a couple months ago, I believe he was on Maria's show after the election, right after he became Treasury Secretary, so maybe it was just a month ago, where he said that he believed in a privatization of Fannie and Freddie, right? Some sort of getting them out of the government control. The market took that as returned Fannie and Freddie to its pre-financial crisis form, meaning it's a private company with the government backstop, meaning the government essentially because it's a private entity, but it's an agency of the government, the government backs up its losses. Okay, today, he backed away from that, and that's why you see the stock falling. And I'll tell you, this is a heavily traded stock out there. There are a lot of people out there that I think are day traders on this, trying to push the stock up on social media. You're the average person. Be very careful about this. Steve, I don't think they know what they want to do with Fannie and Freddie. But you know, when he says, "Listen, we don't want to put this taxpayer on the hook anymore for Fannie and Freddie," which he essentially said, I'm paraphrasing a little bit. That means he's not. That means that government backstop, even if it is a private company, may not be there. So be real careful with this stock. That's why it dropped. We should point out, Liz, you and I and Neil Cavuto and myself have been flagging this issue for investors now for days, and today it was a stock that moved on his comments. And did you also find
fascinating that he completely parroted the Democrats, saying lift the debt ceiling as soon as possible? Listen, Democrat or Republican, they're all going to lift the debt ceiling because you do not want to default on the U.S. debt. It's just that, you know, the Freedom Caucus and the Tea Party, they don't like it.
Yeah, we were never really going to default on the debt. You know, listen, I don't want to get into a theoretical discussion about the debt ceiling. The bottom line is this: if you prioritize you're never going to default as Congress,
Gotcha.
works out a fix. I mean, that we don't have to default. That was a red herring thrown out there by, I guess it was Tim Geithner first. But then
Jack Lew had said as Treasury
well.
Secretary, we got to do this, and now Mnuchin's saying the exact same.
Well, that's true, and that's an interesting thing. Listen, he's a Wall Street guy. So is Jack Lew. They don't want, they want zero uncertainty in the markets. But we should point out, default on our debt was always a red herring. You could prioritize very easy. The Obama administration didn't want to prioritize, but that's their business. And I guess Mnuchin agrees. We'll see when the rubber meets the road, though. I mean, listen, one good thing about this administration, it's one party now running the show. We're not going to have to worry about the debt ceiling. I don't think that much. There'll be other battles. Obamacare, taxes, when that comes in, on and on. Fannie and Freddie, you name it.
Charlie, thank you very much. Charlie Gasparino.